Today, you've heard a lot of information about the SBIR and STTR programs, and hopefully you have had the chance to talk to some of our agency representatives. These programs are a great way to prove your innovative idea is feasible by approaching a critical problem and demonstrating it is solvable. Just like with many things in life, though, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. Reviewers will want to see that there have been some groundwork laid and that you have a clear pathway and idea and know there is some scientific backing to your innovation. What is a great way to showcase that there are some ground truths there? That there are outside experts that believe in what you are doing and that it will work? How do you gain some key credibility in the eyes of the reviewer? Well, teaming and partnering are excellent vehicles to demonstrate this. It shows that others think there might be something there and potential experts are willing to work on the idea with you, that people are excited about the future your innovation might bring about. In our next panel, we will discuss the importance of teaming and partnering and some things to be aware of when starting that journey. I would now like to welcome our moderator, Cliff Hudson, CEO of Emerging Technology Ventures, to the stage. As the CEO of Emerging Technology Ventures, Mr. Eugene Cliff Hudson brings to the company more than 32 years of experience from the DoD in acquisition management, project management, and technology transition. In addition to his experience in unmanned systems development, Mr. Hudson has held various government business management positions within the U.S. Army Aviation and Missile Command Acquisition Center. He will be joined by our panelists, Dr. Luis Cifuentes, Eric Prosnitz, Carol Rabke, and Sean Ross. Cliff, the floor is now yours.
Okay, thank you, Garrett, and welcome to all of our panelists today too, and to our attendees as well. This is, as a small business, this is such an important panel for me personally, because when you're putting a strong proposal together, as Garrett mentioned, the team is going to be scored by the evaluators, and having that team fully rounded out is so important. That ground truth, but also critical voids that you may have from a technical standpoint as well. So we look forward to working today with our panel and discussing it from several perspectives. We have a SBIR STTR program office manager with us today, a technical user from the Air Force side, and we also have two academic representatives as well that have the potential for representing a strong team member depending on the proposal that you're putting together. I'd like to kind of go around the horn first for each panelist to introduce themselves, and then also share a little bit about your role in the innovation ecosystem. We know the SBIR STTR program is such a critical aspect of it, and we'd like to learn a little bit more from your perspective of your organization. So I'm just going to go around the horn here, my screen here. Luis, could we start with you?
Well, thank you, Cliff. Luis Cifuentes. My title is Vice President for Research, Creativity, and Strategic Initiatives here in New Mexico State University, which is in Las Cruces, New Mexico, on the southern part of the state. Just a little bit about myself. I love to tell people this. I'm an oceanographer by training, so I usually end up explaining why I am now in New Mexico. And while I was there, I was very much involved with the Ocean Drilling Project, a project that created a lot of technology, which ultimately became commercializable. Cliff, I just heard you're involved in UAS. I'm proud that when I was at A&M Corpus Christi, I was the lead on bringing one of the UAS test sites to Texas. So I learned quite a bit about that technology. Well, obviously, universities are core centers of creation of new knowledge and intellectual property. And to that extent, key element of the innovation ecosphere. But I think it's important to note too, and I'll keep this short, that one of the things we do for the innovation ecosystem is we help train and educate the talent. And without the talent, some of which eventually become faculty, this is a difficult proposition to make work. So welcome, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, and thank you for taking the time for joining us today. If I could move to Eric.
Hi, Cliff. Thank you for having me today. My name is Eric Prosnitz. I'm a professor of internal medicine at the University of New Mexico Health Science Center here in Albuquerque, about 3 hours north of New Mexico State. And my background really in this area, I would say, comes as a faculty member whose work over about the last 15, almost 20 years has sort of just carried me into the world of commercialization and translation of basic research in the health arena, and other activities over time now, leading a team science and commercialization component of our clinical and translational science center, being the UNMPI for an IDEA program initiative, actually two, one that ended this summer, which was to create hubs for IDEA regions in the country to help promote entrepreneurship and commercialization within IDEA states, and a second initiative now to develop an educational product to help assist in that direction. And I serve on our board for our University Tech Transfer Office, Rainforest Innovations here. So I've moved into multiple areas and seen some of these interactions from different aspects, and happy to be here.
Thank you, Eric. Carol, welcome.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here also. My name is Carol Rabke, and I am with the DOE Office of SBIR and STTR programs. I joined the DOE team in July of 2021, and I was hired in a new role within the office. I was hired as their first tech to market advisor after working more than 20 plus years in the SBIR and STTR community as a commercialization service provider. So in that position, I managed phase one commercialization programs for both NSF and DOE. And so I have worked with hundreds of small businesses, and I've had insight into thousands of them. So within the DOE program office, I focus on providing partnership opportunities for the DOE applicants and awardees. Because I will just say that, SBIR and STTR funding is fantastic, but it won't be enough. And it's important to recognize at the outset that commercialization is a statutory goal. It's a congressional objective. And so you are going to need to find more funding if you're using SBIR funding, and that's probably going to cause you to need to team and look outside of the realm that the SBIR and STTR programs can provide. So in focusing on partnering within DOE, I am developing an SBIR partnering platform. It should be done by July of 2023. And the idea there is that you as innovators can come in and using AI, find the partners that you need. And then we also have some new programs for our DOE Phase 2 awardees that are quarterly workshops that are focused on typical areas of weakness. They launched last week. And then we're going to be doing some strategic partner introduction pitch sessions that are going to launch in 2023, because it's all about helping people find the right partners from when they first enter and they need the subject matter experts all the way to getting out to phase 3, where they might need manufacturing or additional funding or engineering design, all types of different partners.
Well, thank you. That's excellent. It's great news about the platform. I'm excited to explore that. And you're so right there. Phase 1 is a start, but you really have to take that long view, and having those resources available so that you can put that program plan together for success is so important. So thank you so much. Sean, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Sean Ross. So I'm a long-term researcher. I've been active duty Air Force and Navy, and then for about the past 20 years, I've worked for the Air Force Research Laboratory Directed Energy Director. That means I make or research components of laser weapons. Just recently, a month ago, I transitioned to Air Force Cycle Management Center as the lead program manager for directed energy prototyping. Now, in a military context, prototyping doesn't mean any old prototype. It is prototype systems. So these are full laser weapon and microwave weapon systems that I'm interested in now. But over the course of my career, I'm trying to think, I've probably written 15 SBIR topics. I can't know how many evaluation committees. I've taken several, I'm thinking 3 or 4, all the way through to phase 3. Over the course of the career, I have seen many bad proposals. And part of what I'll mention today in my comments is how to make great proposals. And frankly, the teaming aspect is probably the most important aspect. And I'd really like to foot-stomp what Carol just said about this having, either funding or team partnerships. Often the difference, we may get 35, 40 proposals for a call, and I have a day to get through all these things. So I'm given 6 minutes per proposal, and I'm ripping through these things. And what will often distinguish the winning proposal over the other one is that teaming relationship, that you've got an interested customer, some outside funding, something like that. It really makes your proposal pop. Over.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. And that's excellent. Yes, I used to be on the other side working with the Marine Corps and Navy, and you're correct. We had a stack of proposals, and you had to go through those so quickly. And so it's important. Lesson learned is that don't waste your time. Get the compelling parts out there to the reviewer. And one of we kind of had the 1/3. And team members were one third of it. So it is so important in that evaluation cycle. So thank you very much. What I'd like to do now is kind of move to the elevator pitch. We've heard the audience has heard a little bit about your organization, but what is the one critical takeaway that you'd like to leave with the small business community of why working with your organization is important? And I know we've got a very diverse organization, so your answers are probably going to be a little bit different, but I think they're important to the community. And I'm going to go reverse order here if I can. And Sean, if I could tap you again, and we'll go reverse order.
Okay, so I'm going to respond for 2 different organizations. First off will be the Directed Energy Directorate that I've worked for, 20 plus years, and then my new organization, Lifecycle Management Center. So let's start with the Air Force Research Laboratory. They are and I'm going to use DoD terminology, they are a 6.2 and a 6.3 funded organization. That means they're dealing with early technology development, leading to technology feasibility demonstrations, in some cases of complete systems. So the big partnership that you get with an organization like that is you have experts in their field that can provide ideas. I'm in the PM meetings, you're not getting a PM that is just, that's their administrative job. You're getting a technical expert, and they can review your technical approach. They can provide insight, and they can really sharpen up. They can hook you up with the best experts in the field. So it can be quite a partnership. Now, in the more system prototyping, my current organization is a 6.4 funded organization, and at the SBIR level, you're probably not going to be making full systems that I will buy, but I am going to have key technology inserts that you can make a product that will fit into my existing system, and if you do, you have a ready-made market, because I'm dealing with things that are already in low-rate initial production. We're moving into what's official programs of record. So the partnership you want with a prototyping organization is that you have a market right there. So that's kind of the 2 advantages there. Over.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. And those are 2 very important reasons for that partnership. Carol, if I could move to you. And Sean, you're breaking up a little bit on the audio side. Dell, I don't know if you guys can check that on your side.
Okay, so I would just say that the important things to know about DOE. DOE releases topics twice a year, July and November. My colleague Eileen Chance spoke about our programs during the agency rapid fire pitches, and there is a DOE booth in the expo area, so you can find lots of information out there. But what I want to make sure you understand is that DOE funds many different topics. Everyone thinks of us as just energy topics, but that's not everything we have. We have 13 DOE program offices that participate, and all of the topics align with the DOE mission. So, leadership in clean energy, leadership in basic energy and engineering sciences, and enhancement of nuclear security. But what that means is translates into many different topics that are not just energy. We have topics which most people don't know on high performance computing and networking. We do a lot with quantum information systems. We work on genomic science and related biotechnologies. So there's just a lot of different places that you can become involved and topics that you might not necessarily think about DOE funding. And then the one other ground truth that I need to make sure that you're aware of is that letters of intent are required to submit an application. So that's really important. If you don't get that in, you're not going to be able to submit. So make sure that you take that into consideration.
Okay. Thank you, Carol.
Before you move on to our next panelist, Sean, it looks like your connection strength is really low. You might try refreshing and coming back in. That might fix the robo voice. Sorry, Cliff.
No, thanks, Dale. I wasn't sure if it was on my side or it was on Sean's side. So thanks for checking that. Okay, Eric, if we could move to you.
Sure, absolutely. So again, along with Luis, I mean, I'm here at a university, so we have an extremely diverse array of researchers in varying fields. Here at the Health Science Center, of course, we have hundreds and hundreds of clinicians and PhD researchers that can assist, in health-related aspects of SBIRs and STTRs through, subawards, for example. And of course, on main campus, what we call our main campus here, we have a very large School of Engineering. I'd say on both sides, we're quite familiar with the SBIR, STTR programs. In many cases, they originate out of our researchers, our faculty's own discoveries and technologies that get patented through our tech transfer office, and then small companies are spun out, but sometimes they're licensed to larger companies, and those companies then want to come back and engage, the expert or the inventor, or the innovator, in some way to help move the product forward in such an award. So, being a relatively large university, we just have an extremely diverse array of experts here that can really help, a company almost of any size move a technology forward.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Luis?
Adding a little bit to what Eric talked about, we often have underutilized IP, and that's always needs to be a consideration for folks. Many opportunities to build out of that. But the talent is not just those with experience and tremendous research capabilities, but it's also our students that are moving up the line, graduate students and undergraduates, some of which can become part of these efforts and ultimately may become an employee to the new company. I think in addition to that, each one of our universities has services, research services, laboratories, et cetera, that can be of use to an SBIR. And there are even times when the university will support the effort in various ways, including the support perhaps of a graduate student who's getting an experience at this at the entity that is running the SBIR. And also, I'll talk a little bit more when I get to Arrowhead. We can assist with the application for those entities that don't necessarily have the wherewithal to do that. So I think the university has a lot of different facets. UNM, NMSU, any university that's a research university that can be very, very valuable to the SBIR applicant.
Okay, thank you, Luis. And if I can add just very quickly from our perspective as a small business, and I'm going to highlight NMSU. We all know the great work that Dana and Dell and the team there does at the Arrowhead Center, but our relationship with the School of Engineering has been outstanding. Just to pick up on some of your comments, our interns that we're able to hire from there, and permanent employees as well, has been so important for us. And so that partnership is vital for us, and not only in putting a proposal together, but actually in executing the work as well. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to flip it just a little bit now. You've talked about, why it's important for the small business community, but what do you as an organization gain from that internally as well? If you can just take it from a little different perspective now. And Eric, if we can start with you this time.
Sure. Being an academic enterprise, I would say we have spent, along with our tech transfer office, Rainforest Innovations, a good part of I've been here for 25 years. When I got here, the idea of, quote, inventing or innovating for commercial purposes was still not that strong an initiative here. I would say over the last 20 years, and probably as of about, I would say maybe 10 or a little more years ago, I think it's now on people's radar. Not everyone though, so we still have to do quite a bit of educating here of faculty, and we have to reach down, of course, to trainees and students too, about the role that ultimately commercialization plays in bringing your science to either the clinic or the public, or again, we're at a health science center, so it's often ultimately the patient. And it's important because, again, somewhat more historically, but there was always a large sort of fraction of the research population, especially universities, that's, well, I'm just going to publish my work. I don't want to get involved with that business stuff. That's not what I'm here to do, right? I'm here just to do science and publish my work. But it's important, to educate at all levels, that in pretty much all cases, or at least in most cases, unless there's intellectual property tied to these discoveries, inventions, innovations, that allows then a company to develop it and hold that IP and invest in it further, because it's never ready or rarely ready for prime time. When you publish something as a paper, that it still needs that investment, and unless there's IP associated with it that the company can have their investments protected, then it's unlikely actually to get to the public in a usable form. And so, what I find here, and I have young faculty, regularly come to me, and again, faculty generally aren't necessarily interested in listening too much about this until they're ready to listen to it, right? So it's one thing to say, hey, this is important, but and what I try and tell them is, just keep it in mind, when you have something, when you're getting ready to publish something, you think this is really impactful or can have an impact on health in some way, step back or come talk to me again or talk to someone else and reach out or talk to our tech transfer office folks, right, and just reach out to them. And that's what they do then. And all of a sudden they'll, knock on my door, make an appointment, come see me. We talk sort of through it because then they're ready to listen about the process and what it might take. And, I have to do an invention disclosure. Yeah, I sort of remember you told me about that 2 years ago. But, it wasn't important to them then, right? So anyways, I mean, those are the sorts of things we find that are challenging, I think, in this academic environment. And it's been something that the needle has been moving across the country, I think, in academics, again, to a large extent over the last 20, 25, 30 years, depending on the institution. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. Carol, if we could move to you.
Right. So I think my answer is going to be a little bit different because by definition, since I'm in the Small Business Innovation Research and STTR Programs Office, we exist to fund small businesses. So that is why we are interested in building relationships with the small business community. We want to fund them to develop innovative cutting edge technologies to keep America at the forefront of scientific discovery, and quite frankly, we wouldn't exist without them. So we work really hard. We do a lot of outreach to small businesses. We're trying to diversify the small businesses that we're working with, and we are always eager to get new small businesses into the SBIR and STTR programs. And so along that line, we want them to be successful when they first submit their first application to DOE. And so we have programs for them. We have a phase 0 program. I know some folks mentioned those already today, but DOE has one of those. So if you've never submitted, we would like small businesses to give it a try. Look at the different topic areas we have. We have topics out on the street right now. They were just released at the beginning of November. And we also provide support all the way along. So we have the technical and business assistance support. So that's $6,500 in phase 1 and $50,000 in phase 2. And that is all for helping to commercialize. So really trying to help that small business succeed. And then we also have a customer discovery program, the Energy I-Core program. So I would just say we spend a lot of time doing outreach to small businesses, and we exist because of small businesses. So so we need you to have a relationship with us.
Okay, thank you. Sean, if we could touch on you very, very quickly.
Sure. Can you hear me?
It's still a little warbly.
Well, let me try. Yeah, I've still got all the echo cancellation on. Not sure what else I can do.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm going to answer the question with a story, a success story. So at once upon a time, one of my technical niches was power and thermal management for laser weapon systems. And so a colleague had gone down to I think it was an industry day, something like that, out at New Mexico State University. And he got back and he said, "Sean, you have to go see this guy." Okay, so I took a day and hopped on my motorcycle and sped way too fast down the freeway from Albuquerque down to Cruces. And I met this professor. I'm going to leave names out of it. And he had an enhancement to a boiling process that made it way, way, way better. And it was cheap. And I walked into his lab and I said, "Wow, this is amazing. Have you protected your intellectual property?" He'd never even thought of it. So we shepherded him through that, through the MSU office, got the intellectual property. He never actually applied for a phase 1 proposal. But at that time, I already had phase 1s going into phase 2 for some laser diodes that needed his technology. So I introduced him to my phase 2 proposers, got him as a subcontractor under 2 phase 2 proposals. So within the course of a year, his research budget went from $5,000 a year to like $60,000 a year. That was a big deal. That was that's small potatoes for me. Went way up for him. It was enough to have him be able to apply for tenure. because he had to show some funding to get tenure. So he was able to get tenure, and then we took that phase 2, which was a group up in Denver, and I connected them with the commercial laser diode manufacturer. So his technology is now embedded in commercial products that I can buy as a military customer that are going into these laser weapon systems. So the lesson learned from a researcher point of view is doing those industry days, going to technical conferences, getting who you are out there is very, very important. In case the guy he actually talked to was a coworker of mine. Okay. And so also you can have success in the cyber world as a subcontractor, right? You know, somebody else that's doing all those kind of proposals. Maybe you're not working at the widget level. Maybe you're working at a technology insert level. That's great. Okay, and if you have it with the right people, maybe you're back all the way to phase 3 on somebody else's proposal, which again is just fine. I had over.
Okay, thank you, and excellent. And you copied well. A little distortion, but everyone took away the important point that you were making there. Luis, if we could touch you now.
And just to follow up on what's been said, from our perspective at New Mexico State University, we're a land grant. Our mission is to teach, conduct research, and do service and outreach. And the audience for teaching and service and outreach is pretty obvious. And to kind of borrow on that famous Bishop Barclay question about whether if you're in the woods and you yell and nobody hears you, did you really yell? I explained to my faculty, if you create something in the laboratory or some new knowledge and nobody does anything with it, does the taxpayer care? And so you ask, why do we need to get with small business? Small business is the huge stakeholder for all this, and it's what allows us to create added value to what we do in the research environment. And I think one of the great things that the SBIR, STTR has done, and I've seen this happening through my career, I started in the late 80s, is really created the opportunities for faculty to get outside what is called the ivory tower and really make the impact that we need to make to have the taxpayers recognize our value.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Thank you for that, and I think you really resonated and brought everything together there. And I think what came across in the last 2 questions and discussion is it's win-win. It's not just a small business, but it's that partnership. It goes both ways, and it really came through in your answers there. One of the challenges I have is breaking into an organization. So what I'd like to pose now to each of the panelists is avenues of approach. What are the most effective avenues of approach for a small business that wants to engage your organization? Carol, could we start with you first?
Yeah, that would be great. So, well, first, I think I put it in the chat, and hopefully it made its way out to the group chat, and that is the partnering resources that we have. And so I exist in the programs office to help you find the partners. So if you are a phase 0, so you're just an applicant working on your first one, maybe you're looking for subject matter experts at universities, for example. I'm here to help you with that. Eventually, the SBIR partnering platform I mentioned will be there to help you use AI to find each other. But until then, I do have engineering resources. I have test and certification resources. I have commercialization services resources all posted on our site. And then I also have a partnering blog where I talk about different partners that I have helped companies find. So there's lots of partnering resources there. I also wanted to mention the labpartnering.org site. That is the National Labs partnering website. So if you're looking for subject matter experts, that's a great place to go and look for them. The other place to think about partnering resources are the American Made Challenges. That is a program that is run out of NREL by EERE. And so you can find a lot of partners and a lot of smaller funding than SBIR and STTR funding, but you can find some prizes there. And just a couple other DOE programs outside of SBIR that you should be aware of in terms of resources. The newly introduced Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, and also the Loan Office. Let's see, also the Lab Embedded Entrepreneur Program. So that is where if you are a grad student, let's say you just came out of getting your degree, or maybe you are a professor who is going on sabbatical, maybe you would want to embed yourself within a national lab and work on the technology that you're trying to move out into the private sector. So there's a lot of different programs outside of SBIR that I just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of within DOE. And I have all those links and I'll drop them into the chat.
Thank you so much. Eric?
Sure. I mean, here at the University of New Mexico, I think there are a couple main routes to engage and try and find the right people. One would be through our tech transfer office here, Rainforest Innovations. They are very knowledgeable, certainly about individuals and sort of in all areas on campus. The two larger ones being, again, the broader engineering focus, including computer science and similar things, and then the health science side of things. So they know quite well individuals that have an entrepreneurial interest and might be interested in working with a company, for example. And then, of course, chairs of departments or deans of schools, dean of engineering, or the vice president of research here at the HSC, or the HSC myself, for example. I'm fairly familiar with what most of the faculty are doing and can certainly point people in the right direction if a company is interested in finding some expertise in a certain area here at the university.
Okay, thank you very much. Luis?
Well, Eric mentioned tech transfer centers. Cliff, you mentioned Arrowhead. Arrowhead is a tremendous resource in the state, certainly down here in the southern part of the state. And one of the things that makes universities a little difficult to work with, we talk about the fact that we have IP, we have talent, we have services, we have entities that can help with applications, but they're all over the place. And it's not like you can go on the web and Google something and have direct access to all of this. I think one of the things Arrowhead does really well is allows for a person to go to Arrowhead and go straight to which of those resources they need to access. I think the other thing we all have now, which we didn't have before, is wonderful software that makes it possible for us to create teams. We just got on Streamline as an ERA, Electronic Research Administration System, and they have a platform that allows you to map faculty to a given area of research. So if there was somebody who has an SBIR with identify a certain gap, they need an academician in a certain area, they could contact my office, give us a couple keywords, the general gist of what the program is going to be. We can go into the software and find the best matches for that. So the university is not an easy place to navigate if you've never been in it. At least at NMSU, and the same thing at UNM. If you go to Arrowhead or if you come to my office, we can help you navigate that.
Okay, thank you very much. And I do want to again endorse the Arrowhead Center. It's been a great gateway for us into the NMSU system. Sean, could we just test your sound here and audio?
Yeah. Am I here?
Oh, perfect. You're great.
Can you hear me?
Outstanding.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
now okay.
All right. Unfortunately, in the defense, we don't even have phone books. The only way to navigate through the government, from my point of view, know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. The old-fashioned in-person networking is of vital importance to get in. And in my particular field, it's through a professional society. So, for an energy professional society, but any of those important. Send somebody from your team out to the whatever the appropriate professional society is, meet the people, press the flesh, distribute the video, the business cards, hand out the little poofy ball, whatever it is that you do, because once you somebody interested inside the government, like shepherd process.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And you know that that honesty, then that's that is that's one of the challenges I have with teams and some of the other things. Sitting across from a person and getting to know them, that there's a lot of things that just come across in that person-to-person meeting, and so that's very relevant. We're getting towards the end of our time, and what I'd like to do is go to the good, the bad, and the ugly real quick. If you could share a war story, and I know Sean I think you've shared some things, so we'll give you that passage on this particular question. But maybe you've had a teaming relationship. What were some of the red flags that told you, hey, we're about to go south? And just for lessons learned for our attendees, what to watch for. Eric, I know you've got to leave at 1400, so if I could turn to you first.
Yeah, sure. I think I'll speak. I think from maybe the academic and faculty perspective, which we have interest levels that range far and wide. We have some faculty that really want to get involved, with moving their technology forward, and we have others that, with a little encouragement, they'll submit an invention disclosure and get the technology protected, but sort of say, well, tech transfer office, I'll leave it to you to do something with it. I want to get back to my research. And we have this wide range, I think, so from those that want to be engaged, I think what often they find a little disappointing is that, and this isn't universal at all, but I've seen this happen many times, is that once the company licenses something, a technology, or essentially patent at that point, then through our tech transfer office, the researcher often they still feel very connected to that research, but the company just takes off and runs with it, basically, and because they now own it. Right? They own the technology, they've licensed it. And very often the researcher then, really has no say. They don't necessarily, sometimes they really want to engage because that's an expert in the field. Other times they're like, thank you, and we're off and running with it. We're going to do our own thing with it. And in that case, I know faculty often feel somewhat sort of left in the dust behind. And so, I always try and make that clear when I talk to folks that the level of engagement can vary. I think if you approach a company and say you have something more to contribute or you'd like to, that they are perhaps open to keeping channels open, but it won't always happen. So.
Okay, thank you. Luis, if we can move to you again from an academic perspective, since
I don't have a horror story, but I'm going to relate something that I think all of you probably know, and that is that sometimes processes, approvals, etc., at the university move on geological timescales. And I say that because I think particularly those that are going to the university looking to fill a gap or on an STTR, that partnership is required, start early, particularly when it comes to creating the MOUs and the agreements that need to be outlined, because Otherwise, what you're going to end up doing is through Arrowhead, you're going to come to my office and ask me to help make something go through at a faster pace than it should. And yes, I have, I can do that, but I don't want to be doing that all the time. So I think it's important to start early, and it's also important to know that the faculty culture is not one that necessarily understands the timeline of business. And so managing those two different cultures is really important.
Very important. Thank you for that. Carol, if we turn to you.
Right. So I echo what you just said as well. Timing, to really make sure that you start early, particularly if you're working with a university. And that was where I was going to say one of my horror stories has come in, and that was just that the small business didn't work out an agreement with the university ahead of time. And so that's a big red flag for me when I am looking at applications or looking at commercialization plans, is ownership of the IP, especially if it is an STTR. Just really making sure that there's an agreement in place at the outset. And then the other piece that I see where things break down, and that is just making sure that everyone understands each other's expectations for the relationship at the outset. So, and that goes along to universities maybe working on a different timeline than a small business who's really trying to get things going really quickly. So that's something to manage those expectations, but also to do your homework before putting a formal agreement in place. If you're a small business and you're looking at doing a partnership, really think of this like a marriage. Can you work with them? Do they care about your opinion? What do other small businesses say about working with them? And are you okay with the milestones and financial arrangements? So you really need to look at the relationship you're walking into.
That's really an excellent point too, and the proposal cycles are, and you hit on an excellent, and I think everyone has in their comments. The proposal cycles are so short. You need to really have that strategic vision and beginning to cultivate those strategic relationships, that you have the front end work already done, so you can exercise it when those proposal opportunities become available. That's what we learned the hard way, and we've embedded that in our culture as a small business. Sean, I didn't want to exclude you from this particular question. I wanted to give you a chance if you had anything else to add in that.
Well, I do, and I don't want to disparage anybody here, but I found in practice that if what I need is an answer or a method, wow, universities are absolutely the way to go. But if what I need is a product, they can be a little risky. I have had multiple projects in which, because think about it, you go to the university and they've got, optical fiber drawing tower, great. And they've got a graduate student who's enthusiastic. And then right in the middle of your project, the graduate student has something else to do, gets sidetracked, had to go home, missed a semester, and they were one deep. So you got to think about your partnering things and what it is that you need from the various partners, and make sure that if you're under a timeline, is this somebody that can deliver on that timeline that you want?
Excellent point, and that's well made. And okay, I think we're ready to move to the question and answer period. Del, are you on the line to handle that transition?
Getting things set up.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting,
Cliff, if I could respond to Sean, I feel your pain, sir, and I would like to tell you that one of the things we're doing at New Mexico State is, in fact, led by the chancellor, a task force looking at how to create a culture of project management at the university, so that if you have a product, you are a deliverable, that it actually be met, and that it address the risks of having a one deep bench and things like that. So I'm not going to suggest that we're going to have this solved tomorrow, but we recognize the issue and we are working towards a solution.
Outstanding.
Nice to hear. Thank you.
Wydell's doing the tech transfer there in another manner. I really want to thank all of our panel members and Eric as well, who had another engagement at the top of the hour and had to depart. But Dell, if you're ready, we'll turn it over to you.
Yes, I am. So a lot of the questions that are being asked, I think everybody did a really good job of responding to. There is one question that I think would be worth diving into a little bit more, particularly from kind of the business standpoint, is how can people sell their idea to potential team members or partners? And, what is that kind of benefit that this was covered slightly, but I think along the lines of a company being able to sell their idea to, hey, partner with me, hey, team with me. For each of you, what is a best way for a company to kind of go about that process?
Okay. Luis, would you like to start that process?
Well, from the university perspective, a company needs to understand what the university's mission is, what the potential partner, perhaps a faculty member or a staff scientist, what their metrics of evaluation are, and they are different from the business itself. We need to publish. We need to get recognition for the work that we do. We need to move forward on the tenure and promotion track. So I think it is important when you are trying to sell an idea to do your homework first. Talk to Arrowhead, maybe contact me if you'd like. Get a sense of what the departmental culture is, because sometimes the pitch is going to be different depending on who and what part of the university you're dealing with. So I'd love to be able to give you one specific answer. Like I said, university highly distributed, very different areas. Do your homework first, find the right people to ask the right questions, and then perhaps frame your pitch differently depending on who you're going after.
Okay. Thank you. Sean?
So,
I think we lost you, Sean. Okay. Carol, if we could divert you.
Right. Right. So I will just say that the way to pitch your idea to DOE, SBIR, and STTR is to actually find a topic that you can apply to. But in general, there are many platforms out there where you can find opportunities to pitch. I know NREL has their industry growth forum. I believe that Los Alamos also has a program that they do where you can come in and pitch. A lot of the national labs have industry days. I know DOD did industry days, but that would be really how you could go about pitching your ideas to different partners. And that is one of the things that we are adding within the DOE, SBIR, and STTR program office are the ability to have strategic partner introduction sessions. So we're going to be working with our phase 2 awardees to prepare them to pitch. Yes, unfortunately, the only way you can pitch an idea to me is to put it in an application. But other than that, I am going to be trying to help the small businesses learn how to pitch.
Excellent. And your phase zero program is so important as well. And so you're building a great tool set for the small business community. Sean, if we can see if we can reconnect with you.
Okay, how's the audio? How's the audio?
Audio's great. You're frozen video wise.
Okay. Okay. So first, inside of a proposal, Never, ever, ever repeat the topic call. I wrote it. So what you need to do, every proposal starts with a diagram and a brief description, because I am ripping through the proposals so quickly. I needed to be able to quickly determine whether it meets the criteria and I want to read more. So that's within a proposal. Next, I call this interface-centric thinking. So what you want to do is, by your dialogue with your potential customer, you want to understand, and we use the tools of a system block diagram or a functional flow block diagram, figure out where your thing fits in your potential customer's overall system. Then look at the little lines. I've got a power, I got a thermal, I've got information, I got whatever interfaces I have, and then understand how you're going to meet your customer's basic concerns about the environment your thing is going to go into. Once you understand that, you'll know what their big concerns are, and then you can pitch that. Hey, yeah, it's going to work here. It's going to meet this size need. It's going to meet this energy need. It's going to meet this efficiency need, whatever it is. So I would recommend those. So those two things go a long way into understanding, like if you're trying to say in my business, a lot of times a small company will want a team with a big prime, Lockheed Martin, right? And then they're going to get this letter in their proposal that says, Lockheed says, yeah, we like this thing. Okay, the way you're going to get it from Lockheed first is you're going to get somebody like me to make the introduction. But then when you go there and do it, if you understand, what system it is that Lockheed is going into, what those interface requirements are, at the SBIR level, they're not exact numbers. It's more general considerations. But understand those things, and then you're going to be able to make your pitch very well. Over.
Thank you, Sean. So important. That's an important comment. We live in a systems world, and if you've got the best technology by itself, but you got to think about where's it going and where it's going to reside and perform. So that's an excellent point. Del, any other things in our chat?
No, I think that is going to end us for our Q&A. So we're going to go ahead and turn it back to Garrett.
Del, before you leave, if I could just take it for 1 minute. As everyone has heard today, Del is going to be leaving us, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, get me a little teary-eyed, because I've known Del for so long. But I want to thank you for everything, and all the best to you in future endeavors. And we look forward to re-engaging in whatever your next great project is. But thank you.
I appreciate that, Cliff. Thank you very much, sir. All right, and Garrett.
Well enough to know that he doesn't want me to also say something, but I also like him enough to say that I'm going to miss him as well. Anyways, thank you to our wonderful panel there, highlighting why teaming and partnering are important for not only your proposal, but also for the future of your business.